Hi, my name is Zane Swift, and I'm a first-year MFA production student. I'm really excited and really grateful for the opportunity to share my pitch for the Themed Experience Challenge. As a filmmaker, I'm always interested in what technologies are emerging that allow me new and unique ways to engage with my audience. One of these technologies that has stuck out to me in the past few years is branching narrative storytelling. Not only do I think that branching narrative storytelling offers exciting ways for new entertainment, I also think it has a unique opportunity to enter the world of education. One class that I had struggle engaging with in high school was my history class. I felt like it was just a series of events and decisions that I had to memorize and regurgitate on a test. There wasn't much of an opportunity for a discussion. That's where branching narrative history pre-lessons comes into play. For example, imagine a teacher is giving a history lesson on the US's decision to enter war. Students would be given a branching narrative pre-lesson that lets them view the experience of a congressman leading up to the days before US votes on what to do. Throughout that story, the congressman would come to points where they have to make important decisions that they actually had to make in the real historical event. But instead of just being shown the decision they made, students would get to choose to either follow the historically accurate decision, or students have the option to explore hypothetical choices that were options in the moment, but maybe not decided on in the actual historical event. They would get to see history unfold, both how it happened and how it could have happened. Then, when they come to class and their teacher gives them the lesson on what actually took place and the choices that were actually made, instead of just reciting these decisions, they get to create an open discussion about why those choices were made, what they chose, and what that all means to them. It becomes a much more open forum for students to voice their opinions and learn about the opinions of the people they're learning about. Also, as someone that didn't always engage in class because I was shy, I think this gives students more opportunities to engage in conversation and make a more personalized experience learning about these historical events. This method of branching narrative historical pre-lessons could be applied to an endless number of historical events. If any sense of the story could be derived from the historical moment, then there's potential for an engaging and informative branching narrative to be created to set students up for a great learning experience. Once again, I just want to thank you for taking the time to hear my pitch about this idea that I'm truly passionate about and really believe could change education in new and exciting ways.
So is your thinking on this, like, is this an app that exists? And if so, like the actual visual-based content, are we talking like video or graphics? What's your thinking there?
Yeah. I'm thinking with a lot of the branching narrative movies that are coming out, I'm thinking something like that, a video that students could access on their phone, on their TV, on their tablet, but definitely in the style of like a traditional movie with interactive moments.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else?
So are you thinking that this is, if it's interactive, and that seems to be what you're getting at, because you want to you want the opportunity to change the ending, change the storyline, depending on who the audience is, right? Whether it's an individual or a group of students. So if it's interactive, how are you changing the storyline and the ending?
Well, so if a student were to engage with this, well, I think with a lot of like branching narratives that are currently being made, there, even though it allows students to branch out to different options, there it still can come back to specific touch points and specific moments that actually happened. So I think it's less about letting them change the ending or change the history, but it's more about exploring the choices that were available to people leading up to a final moment. So they can, choose to, if it's a politician, choose to make a statement or not, and then that would lead to other decisions, whether to follow up on that or if it takes them down a different path. But it would still ultimately lead to the same historical moment, if that answers your question.
It does and it doesn't. I'm just trying to understand how it's interactive.
it's taking actual decisions that those people made in historical moments and allowing people to make the decisions for them. So, you know, if uh for so I'm trying to think of another way to phrase it, but
Why don't you walk us through an example?
yeah, okay. So for like a more modern example is like when we're teaching people about how the world handled COVID. You could see the story through the perspective of maybe a local representative deciding whether or not to take like legislative action to enact laws to respond to the events. And so you might be you see them experience that story, and then there might come to a point where they have to decide, do I enforce a mask policy or not? And that will have actually happened for that specific person in real history. And so maybe they did. And so there's that option. There's also the option not to. And then that will lead, if they did, then that will lead to a response for the public that might then require them to make a statement or not. And then if they didn't, it could lead to other similar circumstances that provide more choices that really took place, that politicians really had to handle. But we only necessarily see like, often you should really see like the one through line of what actually happened, and we don't get an opportunity to feel those moments of decision. So it's really putting a focus on those moments of decision.
It's like some magic perspective shifting lens.
So then are any of the branches fiction, or are you only creating a branch if there were real decisions being made in reality and you're exploring all the different real paths that might have happened?
Yeah, the decisions I imagine would always be based in real decisions that people had to make. But for the COVID example, because we've seen, and you could take this from a variety of historical, you know, moments, because we've seen a number of different responses to that same event, we can use those historically accurate responses to then create the diverging narratives of what took place. So it's all based in events that actually occurred.
But I guess it's fiction if you choose to take the path that didn't happen, then the narrative is fiction, essentially, is what you're saying.
Yeah, maybe fiction for that specific character, but yeah, so yeah, but still, I think again with history there was usually multiple options, multiple things that occurred at once. It wasn't just one through line. So it's taking the things that happened for people at a variety of places and putting them through the lens of one character. So I still want to base it all in reality, even though if you might give a decision to a character that didn't actually make it.